around the lobby of the Louisville hotels this afternoon, it seems that almost every person was greeted with a hello, do you have any extra tickets? 18,500, we believe, will be the official crowd. That was what is expected. Van Patten moves in, gives a double handshake to Ed Beck. He's 6'8", has 1-inch height advantage. The co-captains are ready to go. The ball game's underway. With Beck slapping it in backcourt, Temple gets it, however, as Brodsky moves in to pick it up. And Temple attacks the basket while left with Guy Rogers getting it. He's got Adrian Smith on him as he moves to the left. Puts one in there to Jay Norman. Falling away from Krigler, he hits. So Jay Norman with a fall-away jump shot puts Temple in front 2-0 after only 18 seconds. Here's Krigler in front court out deep to Hatton. Hatton moves to the right against Kennedy. Double team by Van Patten. He gives to Cox. The jump shot, no good, with a foul against Temple's Bill Kennedy. Bill Kennedy draws the first foul of the game after 28 seconds, and Johnny Cox shoots one. He was fouled after he had shot. Cox shooting off the baseline, 10 feet to the right of the basket and missing as it hit in between the basket and the backboard on the brace. Johnny Cox, both feet up on the line, shoots a two-handed free throw. It's good. Climbed the front of the rim and dropped in to make the score 2-1. Temple leading and taking possession. Guy Rogers moving up the backcourt. He's a left-handed dribbler. Crosses giving to Kennedy on the switch down the left side to Norman. Back to Kennedy, top rim of the circle. Beck picks him up. He flips it over to Norman. Here's another jump shot by Norman. No good. Rolls off the rim. Tapped outside to Rogers. Jump shot. No good. Van Patten taps. No good. And Krigler knocks it out of bounds. Temple has it over the baseline to the right of the basket. Still leading 2-1. Guy Rogers out of bounds. Calls his play to Brodsky in the right corner. Back to Rogers on the screen in the corner. He moves up the right side. Ed Beck picks up on him on a switch. Out deep to Kennedy with Rogers yelling 6. He moves into the top rim of the circle, turns his back on Krigler, whips to Norman, fakes back, goes in to lay it good. Beautiful fake by Jay Norman for his second field goal, and Temple leads 4-1. Getting away to a quick early start on the Wildcats, scoring their first 2 trips down the court. Here's Cox now fouled by Jay Norman as he's knocked to the floor. Norman trying to knock down an incoming pass. That's the second foul on Temple. The first on Jay Norman. Johnny Cox on the line for one shot. Adrian Smith backs up in a safety off the top of the circle. Cox's free throw is good. The score is Temple 4, Kentucky 2. Guy Rogers takes the pass in from Pickles Kennedy. He moves over the center stripe, goes down the left side. Hatton is picked off in there, but Jay Norman, and Hatton is called for charging into the screen. That's the foul on Vernon Hatton, number 1 against Kentucky. Norman goes to the Temple free throw line. He's been the man here that Kentucky has not been able to stop in the first minute, 22 seconds. He's picked up both field goals, now shoots a free throw. It's good. So Temple leads 5-2 as Krigler, breaking quickly down against Brodsky, goes to the baseline, turns, shoots over Van Patten, picking him up, no good. And Jay Norman rebounds for Temple. He gives it over to Guy Rogers. Krigler shot with virtually no rebounding strength. Down the right side to Brodsky, back to Rogers, 25-footer, it's good. So Temple hitting very well as Rogers hits from the first time outside. Temple now leads by 7-2. Fans yelling for the Cats to get moving. High pass goes in the pivot to Beck. Rogers stabbing for it. Can't get it over to Krigler at the top of the circle. Back to Cox. Here's a 20-foot jump shot. In and out. Slapped down and taken by Krigler. Van Patten knocked it out of bounds away from him. Kentucky takes it to the left of the basket over the baseline. Ed Beck out of bounds. Calls his play. Gives to Cox in the left corner. Quick shot. Way short and off the rim to Temple. Kennedy's got it. Throw it behind the back of Rogers, who picks it up. Cut off. He shoots from 20 feet and misses. Norman taps it down, and Cox picks it up for Kentucky, moving into the right corner. Gets a bounce pass by Guy Rogers over to Smith to Krigler in front court on the right side. Back out to Smith and over to Hatton. Hatton calls Cox out, moves to the left side, fakes a shot, gives to Beck on the pivot, out to Odie Smith, breaking down the left in the corner to Cox. The jump shot, no good. Off the rim to Rogers at Temple. Kentucky trying to go for the outside shot, unable to get it. Guy Rogers stopping abruptly, almost got Krigler to collide from the rear. Temple with a 5-point lead as Brodsky gives to Rogers, moving to the top rim of the circle, quickly to the left. A double screen doesn't take anybody off of him. He throws to Van Patten. Beck slaps it back to Rogers. He brings it out deep, gives to Kennedy. Kennedy moves to the left. His screen doesn't go as Kentucky switches on the screen. Here's Rogers to the right from 20 feet. It's no good. High off the rim, a pushing foul called under the basket on Temple. Nope, it's on Kentucky. Johnny Cox draws the personal foul. First foul on Cox. Each team has committed 2. After only 3 minutes, 1 second, Jay Norman, who owns 5 Temple points, hasn't missed a free throw, will shoot 1. He's a one-handed shooter. The shot's no good. Beck gets the rebound for Kentucky. Flips it out quickly to Odie Smith, putting up in front court as Temple had that defense wheeling back quickly to cut off the fast break. Krigler gives out now to Hatton. 20-foot jump shot that's no good, but a foul against Temple's Bill Kennedy. Second foul on Kennedy is number 3 on Temple. Vernon Hatton on the Kentucky line for 2 shots. Vernon Hatton, scoreless, is a two-handed free throw shooter, and the first shot's good. Kentucky has played 3 minutes, 14 seconds without a field goal. They trail by 4 points. Second shot by Hatton is good. The Wildcats have hit all 4 free throws as they trail Temple 7-4. Guy Rogers calling his play with the right hand as he moves into front court, giving to Norman on the left side, to Van Patten in the pivot. Fakes into the left corner, then does give to Kennedy, out deep to Rogers, who's got Hatton on him now. Rogers moving to the right, passes back to the left to Kennedy, who brings it to the right to Brodsky, back to Kennedy, to the baseline at the right, shoots, no good. Johnny Cox gets the rebound away from Norman of Temple, and a foul is called on Jay Norman of Temple, pushing into Cox. That is the second personal foul on Jay Norman, and number 4 against Temple. 6 fouls have been called in 3 minutes, 33 seconds. Johnny Cox shoots 1 on the backcourt foul. Kentucky still playing without a field goal. Johnny Cox shooting, hitting. So Kentucky moves up on 3 straight free throws to within 7-5 of Temple. Bill Kennedy in front court, moving down the right side, goes to the baseline. Krigler switches off to Ticking. He whips to Norman in the pivot. He gets away on a screen and shoots no good from the right side. Van Patten and Beck both out jump the ball, and Van Patten takes it on the bounce to Rogers. 25-footer, no good to the right. Norman rebounds for Temple. Outside to Kennedy, breaks to the left against Krigler. Pulled up by Beck. He gives to Brodsky, breaking to the right. Jump shot, no good. Off the rim to Beck of Kentucky, and Van Patten fouled him. Wait a minute, what did the official call? A foul on Ed Beck. He seemed to be pointing to Van Patten when he called the foul. Then he yelled to Ed Beck to raise the hand, and we had marched to the middle of the floor. It's the first foul on Beck and the third on Kentucky. Van Patten of Temple will shoot 1. These fouls have, in the main, been called on jumping infractions, trying to rebound. Guy Rogers, at an official's timeout, has moved over to the Temple bench, having an adjustment made to a corset type of brace, which he is wearing for the back, which was weakened in Charlotte, North Carolina last Friday night in a collision with a press table. We have just had a final score phoned in from Lexington. Clark County 67, High Street 65. Clark County from Winchester 67. High Street from Bowling Green 65. Clark County winning tonight by 2 points at the state tournament. We'll keep you posted on progress there at the state tournament in Lexington through WABE here in Louisville. And on the free throw line now, Tink Van Patten of Temple shoots good. Temple leads now by 8-5. The Cats fast breaking. So far, Kentucky's missed all 5 of its attempts at the basket. Temple's had 10 shots, already hit 3. Cox passes deep to Odie Smith now. Brings it back to the right. Kentucky trails by 3 points. In the pivot to Cox. The hook. Good. So Johnny Cox hits the hook shot off of a double pivot for Kentucky's first field goal after 4 minutes, 20 seconds. Kennedy on the right side to Brodsky as Kentucky trails by 1. Back to Rogers. Jump shot short off the rim to Hatton of Kentucky. Hatton leaping high, the baseline to get the rebound. Against Brodsky. He drives up into front court and gives to Beck to renew his dribble. Right back to Hatton. Over to Smith. Left side pass to Cox. Hooks under the basket to Hatton. Brodsky knocks it down. It's on the floor and a jump is called. Van Patten will jump with Beck. Or check as Hatton. That gives Temple 4.5 inches height advantage. On the Kentucky free throw line, 8-7 Temple leads. Tap of Van Patten over the head of Cox goes to Kennedy of Temple. Bill Kennedy alone moves up into front court for the Owls. Gives over to Guy Rogers, left side to Norman, back to Rogers. He breaks out to the top rim of the circle. Beck picks him up on a switch over to Norman. He's open from 20 feet and hits. Jay Norman's third field goal and 7th point sends Temple in front by 10-7. Temple leads by 4-1 on field goals. Vernon Hatton up in front court now. Passes left side to Cox into Odie Smith. Breaking in all the way. Missed the shot. Van Patten rebounds. Smith took it away from him, and Van Patten knocked him to the floor as Odie jumped to shoot. That's the first foul on Van Patten. 5 fouls now on Temple. We've played 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Smith will take 2 shots. That's the second straight 2-shot foul by Temple. Here's Smith's first shot. Good. The ball skidded across the front of the rim, hit the back, and dropped in. 10-8, Temple leads. They've been on top all the way. Second shot. No good. First one Kentucky's missed. Ball knocked down by Patton and taken by Rogers of Temple. So Temple holds on to its 10-8 advantage. Rogers in front court, gives to Norman to the left, breaks away from Cox and hooks in and out. Off the head of Johnny Cox, Rogers gets the rebound to Norman out of the right corner. He missed this one. Tapped up into the outside. Krigler's got it for Kentucky. Breaks quickly, gives to Odie Smith, who dropped the ball out of bounds to Temple. So the Owls get it right back. Guy Rogers moving it up the backcourt over the center stripe with a 2-point lead. Over to Kennedy, left side to Norman, back to Kennedy to the right against Hatton, who kicked the ball out to Norman, unintentionally, however, and it's not called. Over to Rogers. Down the right side to Brodsky, back to Rogers. He moves to the left off the screen. Quick jump shot, no good, missed everything. Out of bounds, untouched to Kentucky. Vernon Hatton hands in under the Temple basket to Adrian Smith. The fans wanting Kentucky to tie it up this trip now as they trail 10-8. Hatton fakes to the left side, gives to Cox on a bounce pass, fakes on Norman, drives for the basket, and is fouled by Jay Norman as he jumps to shoot. Now Van Patten raises his hand. It is Van Patten drawing the personal foul. The bonus rule is in effect, but it's a 2-shot foul. Johnny Cox on the line for 2 shots. Temple has committed 6 personals. Kennedy, Van Patten, and Norman drawing 2 each. Here's Cox's first try. Short, no good. We saw Kentucky hit their first 6 free throws. Now they've missed 2 in a row. Cox with his second shot. Good. Johnny's hit 4 out of 5 and has 6 points. Temple leads 10-9. They did lead 7-2. Here's Rogers down the left side for Temple against Odie Smith, who stays right with him. Pivots, passes out to Norman. Norman hands to Rogers, moving back out deep. Rogers moving to the right, gives to Kennedy. Down the left to Norman, back to Kennedy. He moves to the right. Jump shot at the top of the circle is good. Bill Kennedy using the backboard for his first field goal. Sends Temple ahead 12-9. Kentucky so far has been unable to catch up. Here's Hatton moving down the left side, picked up by Norman, goes under the basket, out of shooting position, gives to Cox in the left corner, and he throws it to Guy Rogers. Temple goes down 2-on-1 against Adrian Smith, and Rogers hits from 10 feet. Guy Rogers with his second field goal, and Temple leads 14-9. 7 minutes have been played. Hatton back in front court, moves to the right side, 20-foot jump shot, no good. Beck taps up, no good, and a foul is called. Ed Beck charging in to get the rebound, committed his second foul. That's 4 on Kentucky. Clock stopped with 12 minutes 46 seconds in the first half. Kennedy makes his first appearance at the Temple free throw line. Temple has been the team with the field goals. They've got 6, while Kentucky has had only 1 field goal in 7 minutes 14 seconds of play. That a hook shot by Johnny Cox. Still, they trail only 5 points, but it's the second time they've been down by 5. Kennedy's free throw is no good. Tapped out of bounds by Van Patten and Beck, and they'll jump. Gives Temple 1-inch height advantage, and 6'8" Tink Van Patten on their own free throw line. Here's the toss, the tip by Beck to Hatton. Whips to Smith, going 1-1 against Rogers to the right side. Over to Cox, moving in on the right side. Back out to Smith, over to Hatton. Down the left side to Krigler, back to Hatton. Smith goes through out to Cox, top of the circle, jump shot, good. Johnny Cox with his second field goal pulls the Cats within 3 points at 14-11. Guy Rogers in front court for the Owls. Moves in on Adrian Smith, fakes him and goes by for a shot that's short. Cox rebounds for Kentucky, and Rogers knocked it away from him out of bounds. Kentucky's ball. Adrian Smith, a long bounce pass up the backcourt to Vernon Hatton. The moves over the center stripe. Temple dropping their guards back. Here it is over to Cox to Hatton on the left side. Out to Krigler at the top of the circle. He takes the shot. No good. Short. Beck taps. Good. Ed Beck's first field goal, and it was a tremendous field goal. He was about 5 feet back from the basket in the air when it came off the rim. Temple's lead back to 1 point at 14-13 as we go into the last 12 minutes of the first half. Kennedy deep to the left side, passing to Norman, a 1-bounce dribble, back out to Kennedy. Fakes, drives, Hatton takes it away from him. He moves up in the front court. The Owls defense him, and he stops out deep to let his offense roll by. Gives left side to Krigler. Back to Hatton. He moves out, gives to Cox. He's open from 20 feet. Good. Johnny Cox with his 10th point of the ball game sends Kentucky in front for the first time, and timeout Temple. Johnny Cox suddenly found the range from the outside, and Kentucky, twice backed by 5 points, has caught up and gone on top, 15-14. And we have 11 minutes, 21 seconds to play in this first half of play at Freedom Hall, Louisville, in the semifinal round of the NCAA. Our shooting percentages so far show Kentucky with 4 field goals on 12 shots and Temple 6 field goals on 16 shots. So Temple has, in the early going at least, been able to get more field goals. Kentucky is being led by Johnny Cox with 10 points. Ed Beck has 2 with a field goal. Hatton 2 at the free throw line. And Smith 1 point at the free throw line. Only John Krigler is scoreless. Temple is being led by Jay Norman with 7 points. Rogers with 4. Kennedy with 2. Van Patten with 1. Mel Brodsky is scoreless. Clark County defeated High Street of Bowling Green tonight in another great tournament game at Lexington, 67-65 in favor of Clark County. Temple has hit 2 for 4 at the free throw line. Kentucky 7 for 9. As Temple has drawn 6 personals, the bonus rule is in effect against the Owls, not against Kentucky as they've committed 4 as we go back to play. Brodsky to Kennedy. Off to Rogers. He breaks down the left side against Odie Smith. Gets the jump shot away, and it's no good. Cox knocks it down. Norman picks it up and shoots. No good. Beck rebounds for Kentucky. Knocked down on the floor, and a jump is called. Beck fighting it out with Rogers for possession. And as they jump at the Temple free throw line, Ed Beck has 7 inches advantage. Here's the toss. The tap goes to Norman, who beat Hatton to it. Out to Guy Rogers, and Temple's got possession. Rogers deep, moving to the left, back to the right with a pass to Brodsky. As he moves off the screen to the right, Krigler picks him up and he goes to the corner. Moving up the side, Krigler lets him open and he shoots. Over the rim, Norman slaps outside and Krigler's got it for Kentucky. The Caps are running, 3-1. Krigler all the way missed the dead trip shot and Guy Rogers fouled him. That is the first foul on Guy Rogers, but number 7 against Temple. John Krigler on the line. The bonus rule should be in effect, although it's not signaled. Krigler takes 2 shots. That's the reason. He missed the first shot. 10 minutes, 43 seconds in the first half. Krigler going to shoot the second shot now. No good again. Back taps it in. Ed Beck with his second tap in sends the Cats ahead 17-14. Guy Rogers of Temple in front court calling his play as he moves in against Adrian Smith. Looks for somebody open. Passes over to Kennedy. Off the left side of a double pivot to Norman. Whips right side to Brodsky. The jump shot good. And Mel Brodsky is the 5th Owl to score with his first field goal, cutting the Kentucky lead to 1 point at 17-16. Here's to Krigler on the right side to Smith. He moves down the right. 20-foot jump shot good. Adrian Smith hits his first field goal, and Kentucky leads 19-16 with 10 minutes in the first half. Guy Rogers back in front court. Gives to Kennedy, deep to the left. Whips to Norman under the basket, lays it up, no good on Cox. And a jump ball. Nope, jump. Cox got it away from him. Norman moves over to try to retake it and fouled him. Jay Norman drawing his 3rd foul. Jay Norman took the ball in under the basket. Odie Smith was hit in the mouth by Tink Van Patten on that jump shot a minute ago. And trainer Rusty Payne is just now getting a chance to come out to give him some attention. Van Patten slapped at the ball and hit Odie in the mouth after the shot. Well, Jay Norman that time had an open shot under the basket and missed it, got the rebound. Cox took it away from him, and he tried to retake it and fouled. That is his 3rd personal foul. Johnny Cox has 1 coming as the bonus rule applies. Cox 4 for 5. 9 minutes, 48 seconds here in the first half. Kentucky leads 19-16. Cox free throw, good. He gets the bonus shot. Johnny Cox pounding the ball into the floor now. Ready to go. Shot good. Kentucky 21, Temple 16. Guy Rogers of Temple moves back into front court. Breaks down the middle and missed the shot as he walked outside. He seemed to let the ball hang up on his hand just a split second. Kentucky will take over in back court. The ball lays in on the floor in front of the Temple bench. Kentucky will put it in play at the baseline in back court. Bounce pass into Adrian Smith, who moves up over the center stripe before 18,500 here at Freedom Hall. Gives to Cox to Hatton. Outside to Krigler. Moves left. 15-foot jump shot. No good. Missed everything. Krigler, way off in shooting tonight, is the only Wildcat, the only man for either team who has not scored. Kentucky leads for 5 points. Each team's had a 5-point lead. Temple, 2 of them. Kennedy from the left shoots short. On the jump for the ball, a foul is called. It's on Temple. Van Patten, his 3rd foul. Guy Rogers lays back in back court in front of the bench to use the towel. Ed Beck is on the free throw line for the first time. Beck has had 2 spectacular tap-ins tonight. Kentucky 21, Temple 16 is Beck's free throw. Good. That ball bounced 3 times on the rim before it dropped in for Beck's 5th point. He has a bonus shot coming with a 6-point Kentucky lead, the longest of the game for either team. It's good. Kentucky 23, Temple 16, and Beck has already scored more points than his season's average. Here's Guy Rogers of Temple in front court. Fakes Odie Smith. A foul called on a collision. It's charging Guy Rogers. Now blocking Odie Smith. For Smith, that is his first personal foul. 5 against the Cats now. Rogers of Temple will take 1 shot. Temple as a team has hit 2, missed 2. Shot good by Rogers for his 5th point. And Temple moves to within 23-17 of the Cats with 9 minutes in the first half. Hatton in front court, dancing along, gives to Smith. 30-foot set. It's no good to the right. And Brodsky of Temple rebounds, hooks it out to Rogers. A 3-2 fast break. Rogers from 20 feet shoots, no good. Rebound, Van Patten shoots, good. Van Patten's first field goal gives all the Owls at least 1, and the score is 23-19 for Kentucky. Here it is to Krigler, back to Smith, outside to Cox, top of the circle, moves left on Norman. Van Patten picks him up, and he gives to Hatton, back to Odie Smith, 20-foot jump shot, no good. Cox rebounds beautifully, brings it outside, drops it, picks it up, gives to Beck on the pivot, outside to Hatton. He moves right, gives to Krigler, fakes a shot, moves out, the ball knocked down beautifully by Rogers, and he goes in for a gimme. Guy Rogers picking up his 3rd field goal. He knocked that ball away from Vernon Hatton over to teammate Bill Kennedy, who fed it right back to Rogers on the break. And Temple, down 7 points, has come back within 2, 23-21. Hatton on the right side moves down to the baseline against Brodsky. Fakes to Cox, gives to Beck, back to Hatton. All the way! Beauty! Vernon Hatton's first field goal of the game. Kentucky 25, Temple 21. We're within 7 minutes, 45 seconds of halftime as Kennedy breaks into the right corner for Temple. Out to Brodsky, to Kennedy, deep to Rogers. Moves to the left, gives to Norman. Back to Rogers. Beck picks him up at the circle. He goes back down the left side to the corner. Back to Norman. 20-foot jumper, good. Jay Norman's 4th field goal moves Temple back within 2 points. 25-23. Vernon Hatton over the center stripe for the Wildcats. Crisscrosses, gives to Odie Smith. Off the right to Krigler, back to Hatton. Hatton moves down the right on Kennedy, gives to Smith. Outside to Cox. Norman moves in, Cox moves out. Picks up Van Patten going through the pivot. To the left side, he gives to Beck in the pivot. Fakes Norman, breaks for the basket, hooks it in. Ed Beck's 3rd field goal sends the Cats ahead 27-23. Ed Beck hitting 3 for 3 tonight on field goals. 2 for 2 on free throws. Hadn't missed a shot, field goal or free throw. Rogers of Temple breaks against Krigler, gives out to Brodsky, jump shot good. Brodsky's hitting about 2 for 2. Now Temple right back within 2 points at 27-25. Vernon Hatton directing his offense. Off a balanced court, he moves into front court. Krigler breaks, Hatton tried to follow him. Kennedy cut him off. He turns and shoots. No good over the rim. Knocked down by Brodsky. Fed out to Kennedy for a 2-2 break. Cox picks him up, and he misses. And Adrian Smith rebounds. drives quickly into front court, and the ball's taken away from him. It's knocked down by Kennedy, picked up by Van Patten. Over to Rogers, and Temple back to the attack quickly. Whips off to Kennedy, wide open. He lays it in. Kennedy's second field goal ties it up, 27 all, and timeout Kentucky. Let's take 10 seconds right here for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. It's 4 minutes past 9 o'clock.
Back at Freedom Hall, Louisville, where we have a 27-27 ball game between Kentucky and Temple in this first NCAA ball game tonight. Seattle, Kansas State play the second game. 6 minutes, 8 seconds to play, and the score is deadlocked. Here's your scoring to this point. Johnny Cox has picked up 12 points. Ed Beck, 8. Patton, 4. Smith, 3. For Temple, Jay Norman has 9. Guy Rogers, 7. Brodsky, 4. Kennedy, 4. Van Patten, 3. Shooting so far, we have Kentucky, 8 field goals, 19 shots. Temple, 12 field goals, 29 shots. Temple has had 10 more shots at the basket than the Wildcats. Kentucky had a difficult time in getting started from the field. As we go back to play, the ball belongs to Kentucky under the Temple basket. Adrian Smith will put it in play. Passes into Vernon Hatton, and the two Kentucky guards move back into front court. Kentucky had a 7-point lead, which disappeared from 23-16. Hatton gives to Krigler, takes a return out to Cox. Looks it back, gives to Hatton on the side, moving out with it. Setting it up again. He moves Johnny off the right side. Takes it in. Norman fights through the screen. Takes Hatton to the baseline where he's triple teamed. Bounce pass out to Beck deep on the right side. Hands to Hatton, who brings it out deep again. Hatton over to Smith. Krigler comes into a double pivot as Kentucky overloads to the right. Back to Vernon Hatton, moving to the left side. Fakes to Krigler. Over to Smith again. Off the Kentucky bench, you can hear the call being yelled, Krigler. Here's Hatton, moving to the right. 20-foot jump shot. No good. Beck taps it, no good. Van Patten knocks it down with a foul called under the Kentucky basket on John Krigler. One personal on Krigler is now 6 against Kentucky. Well, you could see then that Kentucky could not get set. They did not know what to do. Constantly, something was being yelled to them from the bench, either Krieg or set up, indicating either what to do or where to pass. Van Patten, who hadn't missed a free throw, shoots. Chance to break the tie. The shot, no good. Beck slaps across the alley to Hatton. Up in front court to Krigler, who kicks it off his knee, picks up at the baseline, and steps on it. Krigler having a real tough time in there tonight. Score remains deadlocked, 27 all with 5 minutes to go in this first half. Kennedy to Rogers in front court. Down the right to Brodsky, back to Rogers. He takes a 25-footer, good. So Guy Rogers catches hold with his 4th field goal, and Temple leads 29-27. Back in front court. Pass goes to the pivot to Beck. Outside to Hatton. Over to Krigler, to Cox. 25-foot jump shot is short. Brodsky's got it for Temple. Kentucky unable to hit again from the outside now, falling behind as Rogers in front court feeds up good from the left side, falling away. Guy Rogers with 3 quick field goals has sent Temple in front, 31-27. Kentucky seems to be in trouble offensively, very uncertain of themselves. Here's Smith driving for the basket, taken away from him by Brodsky of Temple. Whips on the fast break. Krigler cuts it off from Kennedy. Gives over to Beck and up to Hatton. Temple with a 4-point lead. Hatton setting it up again. Gives over to Odie Smith. Right side to Krigler, out to Hatton. Moving to the right. He's got Kennedy on him. Goes under the basket, lays it up, no good. The ball is on the floor, picked up by Hatton. He lays it in beautifully. He is fouled on the play. One official signal good. That's right. The goal by Hatton is good. That's a tremendous shot because he was pushed in there by 3 men and he was almost out of shooting position. Jay Norman complaining about the call for Temple. It goes on Van Patten, and that's his 4th one. Vernon Hatton on the free throw line for 1 shot. It's no good. Beck taps it up, no good. Cox taps, no good. The ball came back to Beck, but he wasn't looking. And Temple gets it with a 31-29 lead. Here's Rogers in front court, taking a 20-foot jump shot, no good this time. Brodsky rebounding beautifully, and Krigler fouled him. That's the second straight foul on Krigler, and the bonus rule applies against both teams as Van Patten comes out. He's replaced in the Temple lineup by Dan Fleming. That loses 2 inches of Temple's height in the pivot. Fleming is 6'6", weighs 210, 23-year-old senior. The number 6 scorer with 135 points and a 4.8 average. Brodsky on the Temple free throw line for the first time. Misses, gets his own rebound, shoots no good. Johnny Cox hooks in the rebound. Gives to Vernon Hatton, who moves up the backcourt. Temple 31, Kentucky 29. Hatton off to the left side with a bounce pass to Cox. Takes a return. Out to Krigler. Top of the circle, one-hander. No good again. Krigler unable to hit. Field goals or free throws tonight. 3.5 minutes now in this first half. Rogers of Temple in front court with a 2-point lead. Breaks left on Hatton. Hands it over to Fleming. Outside to Brodsky, deep to Rogers. Rogers setting his offense now slowly for Temple. Bounce down the left side, goes to Norman. A hook is no good. Johnny Cox rebounds. Rogers moves in on him, and he two-hands a high pass up to Smith, to Hatton at the dividing line. Vernon Hatton over the center stripe now as we move into the last 3 minutes of the first half. Brings it to the right. Fakes a jump shot, gives to Cox. He takes the jumper, no good. Climbs the boards and goes out of bounds to Temple. Still trail 31-29 as Temple goes back to try to increase it. In the pivot, it goes to Fleming. He turns to face back, gets free and shoots good. The goal counts and a foul against Hatton. That's the second foul on Hatton and the first field goal by Dan Fleming, the only substitute in the game so far. Fleming is on the free throw line for a try as Temple opens up a 4-point lead, 33-29. And Fleming has a chance to give Temple, he doesn't, his back rebounds on the missed free throw. Temple has had 2 5-point leads in this half with 2.5 minutes to go. Rogers with tremendous action on those drives. Smith in front court feeds Krigler on the right side, out to Hatton. Fakes a shot, breaks right, gets away from Brodsky. Fleming picks him up, Norman picks him up, and he brings it outside. Gives over to Cox, back to Hatton, down the left to Odie Smith. Got Jay Norman on him, gives back out to Hatton. Back over it goes to Smith. He drives, then kicks back, and Rogers takes it away from him. Smith knocks it down, though, and Hatton picks it up to Krigler. Wide open, he got it. John Krigler, the 5th Wildcat to score. And tied up 33-all with Guy Rogers hurt on the play. Rogers talking heatedly with the official down in backcourt. He had the ball stolen from Odie Smith, but Smith, as the players would say, came again. Got it away from him, jarred it away from him, and Hatton picked it up. And Kentucky had Krigler all alone to tie it up 33-all with 1:25 seconds to go. Back in front court's Rogers. Down the right side it goes to Brodsky, out to Kennedy, cut off by Krigler. He backs away. Now takes the jump shot high and short. Rebounding Johnny Cox. Flips up to Odie Smith, breaking 2-3. Takes it to the right side, gives to Krigler. Fakes a shot, fakes a break, and Rogers takes it away from him. Krigler moves into time up on the floor. Guy Rogers as quick as a rattlesnake. The ball on the baseline. Krigler made a move to go down the baseline, and as he made that fraction of a break, gave Rogers the chance to take it away. Krigler at 6'3", has 3 inches height advantage for Kentucky at its own free throw line. Cap knocked back to Hatton, and Odie Smith goes deep in backcourt to get it. 33-33 the score as we go into the last minute of the first half. Krigler to Hatton. 25-footer, no good. Temple's got it as Rogers takes it. Hatton on him in backcourt. He breaks away, moving up in the front court. Flips left side to Fleming. Jump shot over the rim, no good. Odie Smith rebound for Kentucky with 40 seconds to go. Over to Vernon Hatton. And Ed Beck signals out front. Let's take one shot. Vernon Hatton cannot see the clock. He's yelling to John Krigler, time, which means the Kentucky guards who control this ball cannot tell how much time remains. Right now shows 21. Here's Adrian Smith deep, moving to the left side. This game has been everything expected of the contest, about as it was in Lexington. Hatton holding the ball out of play, yelling how much time. There are 10 seconds to go. Here's Cox from 20 feet. Missed it. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Kennedy's driving, 2 seconds. He didn't see the clock either. And the first half is over. Score, Kentucky 33, Temple 33. Well, you might be tempted to say this is anybody's ball game. It certainly is. In case you're interested in the game at Lexington that went 3 overtime periods, Temple was in front at the half, 35-34. So it's almost an even Steven ball game with what we saw December 7th in Lexington. Let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. In 20 seconds, 9:30.
Here's Kentucky coming out for the second half with Cox and Krigler at forwards, Beck at center, Smith and Hatton at guards. No Kentucky substitutes so far. For Temple, Rogers and Kennedy at guards. We have Fleming back at center with Norman and Brodsky the forwards. Fleming is the only substitute for either team. Van Patten has 4 personals, and he's going to sit out the start of this half, tied up 33 all, and we're ready to go. Clark County beat High Street 67-65 at Lexington tonight. Second half tap to Hatton in back court. Over to Smith, back to Hatton. Kentucky's offensive basket now is the one to our left here at Freedom Hall in Louisville. Hatton at the top rim of the circle, moving to the right, gives to Krigler. Off the left to Smith, out deep. Over to Hatton, moves right, 20-foot jump shot. No good, rolls off the rim to Norman of Temple. Jay Norman bounces her over to Kennedy as Kentucky fails to score its first trip of the second half. Guy Rogers moving into front court, crisscrosses, coming to the right, looks at Brodsky, gives to him. Brodsky breaks out to the free throw line. Beck covers up, he gives to Norman, who juggles the ball against Cox, breaks out and away. Missed it. Krigler taps it out away from Fleming and takes it for Kentucky. That ball laid up there fully 2 seconds. Odie Smith brings it on into front court now, looks at Krigler on the left side, to Cox rather, and then over to Hatton, to Krigler on the right side, out to Smith. He sets, breaks in against Brodsky to the baseline, goes for the basket, and a foul called on Temple. Mel Brodsky drawing his first one of the game. That's the first foul of the second half. Came after 54 seconds. Adrian Smith, 1 for 2 on the Kentucky line. Kansas State and Seattle play the second game tonight. Scheduled for 9:30 Eastern Time here at Freedom Hall, Louisville. Odie Smith ready to go. Hits. Kentucky breaks the halftime tie, 34-33, as Smith picks up his 4th point. Guy Rogers at Temple in front court, hands it Kennedy on the crisscross to the left to Norman. Out to Rogers, breaks right on Hatton. Krigler switches off to take him at the baseline. Rogers brings it back out deep. Krigler stays with him. Now back to Brodsky and the pivot to Fleming. Brodsky breaks by, gets the ball, turns and shoots. No good. Ed Beck rebounding. Puts it over to Adrian Smith. Up into front court. On a high bounce, got away from him. Over to Vernon Hatton, moving in cautiously now. Cox against Norman gets the pass. Takes the hook. Good. That was a 20-foot hook shot by Cox. Kentucky 36, Temple 33. Temple to Rogers in front court for Temple on the left side to Norman. Back to Kennedy. Back over to Norman on the left side. Cox plays him loosely. He drives in. Gives to Fleming from 15 feet. He misses. Norman taps. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. Fights his way out. Gives to Odie Smith. Smith moving up the back court now. The fans catching the excitement here. 18,500. A capacity crowd for Freedom Hall. Hatton in front court holding the ball. Gives over to Smith. Right side to Krigler. Brings it out. Gives to Hatton. Down the left to Cox. Cox breaks right on Norman this time and has his shot blocked, but he's fouled. Fleming slams the ball into the floor very hard. Brings Temple coach Harry Lindwack up off the bench. Jay Norman throws both hands back. In an obvious display of temper, the officials move in to talk with Norman. Guy Rogers complaining to the other officials. The foul goes against Dan Fleming. It's his first. Temple's second. Johnny Cox of Kentucky is on the free throw line. He's got 2 shots coming. First one's good. That gives Cox 7 out of 8 at the free throw line, and Kentucky a 4-point lead after 2 minutes 9 seconds of the second half. Hatton and Smith are backed up deep off the side of the circle. Second shot by Johnny's good. Kentucky 38, Temple 33. Now we have Guy Rogers back quickly in front court for Temple. Fakes left, comes right on Odie Smith, and a 10-foot jump shot is no good with a foul on Smith. Second foul on Smith is Kentucky's first. Guy Rogers up for 1 shot. Rogers has not missed a free throw. Kentucky has a 5-point lead with 5 straight points this half. Rogers, a left-hander, misses. Beck taps behind him to Odie Smith. moves quickly in front court for the catch. Left side to Cox, near the corner on Norman. Whips back out to Smith. Deep to Hatton. Straight away. Krigler moves out. Hatton moves down the right side. Goes to the baseline, near the corner. Passes out to Beck, who comes off the pivot. Gives to Cox in the right corner. Out deep to Hatton. Hatton down the right side to Cox. Back to Hatton. Krigler comes out, gets the pass. Here's a 25-foot jump shot. No good. High over the rim to Rogers. Of Temple deep to the right at the baseline. Temple in front court with Rogers yelling for. Kennedy gives to Norman, breaks to the left and shoots. Over the rim, no good. Krigler rebounds for Kentucky. Takes it out under the basket and hands to Odie Smith. Kentucky very strong here in the early second half on the defensive backboard especially. Here it is to Cox on the left side. Breaks to the right on Norman, who fouled away, trying to fake a foul, and it is a foul on Johnny Cox. The fans boo the decision as Jay Norman, very, very obviously peeved at the previous call, throwing both hands up in the air, acting one out this time to go to the free throw line. He's hit one and missed one. There are 16 minutes, 53 seconds in this ball game. Kentucky leading 38-33. Norman is a one-hand free throw shooter. Sights, hits. Temple gets its first point of the second half. Vernon Hatton moving slowly up the backcourt with a 38-34 Kentucky lead. Moves in behind Beck and feeds Krigler on the right side. Takes a return. Cox comes out. Krigler goes in, and Hatton takes it down the right side. Fakes one under the basket. Pivots, gives to Beck. Back to Hatton from 20 feet. In and out. Rebounding Krigler lays it up. No good. Beck taps. No good. Now Temple's got it as Kennedy picks it up. Hatton picks him up in the corner, but he gives a high pass over to Brodsky. Up to Rogers. Guy Rogers back in front court for Temple now. Moves in, whips one into the pivot to Fleming. He shoots, falling away, short. No good. Rebound taken by Norman. Hits on a jump shot to the right side. Norman's fifth field goal. And Temple, with 3 quick points, has moved back to within 2 at 38-36. In the pivot to Beck, hands back to Smith. 20-foot jump shot, no good, short. Rebounding, Adrian Smith of Kentucky, breaks to the baseline to the right. Turn, passes outside to Krigler. Hatton is open under the basket, but across the court. Now Rogers picks him up as Hatton gets it over on the left side. Jump shot, no good. To the right side, it's out of bounds. Goes out of bounds to Kentucky. Vernon Hatton will put it in play. Now walks away, and Ed Beck will do it. 15 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock for the second half. Kentucky 38, Temple 36. Beck calls his play. Norman actually touched the ball while he was holding it out of bounds. Gives to Cox, takes it to the baseline, backs away to the corner, comes up the side, passes to Smith, over to Hatton. Fakes to the pivot, gives to the right to Krigler. Krigler breaks to the basket on Brodsky, goes under, hooks it back and in, good, but he walked with it, and it's out of bounds to Temple. Now Kentucky has hit a flat spot and unable to score. They built up a 5-point 38-33 advantage. 3 Temple points have gone in so far, and here they attack again. Here's Rogers on the right side. Shoots over Krigler. To the right, no good. Slapped up in the air. Brodsky's got it back to Fleming. His shot's blocked by Krigler. But a foul is called against Krigler, and it's his third one. Each team has drawn 2 fouls this half. Fleming of Temple goes up for 2 shots.
On Krigler is third. Fleming at the line.
Krigler is the first Wildcat to draw his third foul. The free throw is good by 6'6" Dan Fleming, and his second shot can tie up the game after 4:57 of the second half. It's good. And so each team has scored 5 points. First Kentucky, then Temple the second half, and we're back even. Here's Smith in front court for the Cats. Down the left side to Cox. Hatton goes under the basket, comes out into the left corner as Smith gives to Krigler, takes a return, gives to Hatton out deep to the left side. Back over to Smith, moving to the right with a bounce pass to Krigler, back to Smith. Hatton goes through slowly, pass out to Cox, fakes, moves to the left. 20-foot jump shot, no good. Kentucky still unable to find that range. Here's the pass out to Norman on the rebound from Brodsky. Hands to Guy Rogers, and Temple now has its first chance of the second half to break the tie. Rogers giving to Kennedy, down the right to Brodsky, back to Kennedy. Breaks through on Hatton, goes in, shoots. Hatton blocks, slapped outside. Adrian Smith picks it up for Kentucky. Rogers trying to foul him. Guy Rogers took it away from him, but knocked him to the floor, committing his second foul of the game. And that is the third foul on Temple. Guy Rogers slaps Adrian Smith on the back as the Kentucky guard walks by. 14 minutes and 21 seconds here in the ball game at Freedom Hall, Louisville. Odie Smith, 2 for 3, will shoot 1. Chance to break our 38 all-time. Smith shoots good. Kentucky leads 39-38 now as Temple swings back into the attack. Guy Rogers yelling 8. Firing to Kennedy, taking a return. Down the right to Brodsky, back to Rogers. Moves to the left. Whips under there to Fleming, wide open. He hooks it in. Check is Norman. Jay Norman hooks in his 6th field goal. And Temple is in front for the first time the second half. 40-39 after 6 minutes. Hatton on the right side to Krigler. Out to Smith. 30-foot set. No good. Temple has all the rebounding sprint. Norman takes it off, and Cox slapped it out of bounds. Well, Temple's got it in backcourt with a 1-point lead. Kentucky unable to hit the outside shot now since they broke in front 38-33. They've scored only a free throw. Now Kennedy moves to the right, feeds Rogers. Krigler's got a hold of it, but not enough to stop it. Rogers takes him to the free throw line, breaks off to the left side, then comes out with it. Gives off to Kennedy, yelling 4. It's back to Norman on the left side. 10-foot jump shot, no good. Rebounding Johnny Cox, beautifully hooking it away from Fleming, who was coming in from the rear. Gives over to Krigler, up to Smith in front court, left side to Hatton. Smith goes through. Hatton moves out to the top of the circle, takes it to the right, gives to Krigler in the right corner. He shoots. Good. Krigler's second field goal sends Kentucky ahead, 41-40. We have played 7 minutes of the second half. Guy Rogers of Temple back in front court. Calling his play as he passes to Jay Norman on the left. In the pivot to Dan Fleming. He turns, falls away from Beck. Misses. Knocked down and taken by Brodsky of Temple. High outside pass to Kennedy. Whistle at the baseline. The official just now being able to be understood that he had given the ball out of bounds to Kentucky. Jay Norman moves in to complain, sees the official is not going to take any kidding and says, "I'm sorry." Hatton moving back in front court for the Cats now with a 1-point lead. Takes it down the right side, gets Fleming on him under the basket, and he shoots. Shot blocked and a jump is called. Fleming at 6'6" will have 2 inches height advantage, 2.5 for Temple. Harry Litwack, the Temple coach, is out on the floor now talking with the official. Temple, to say the least, is not pleased with the officiating on the Kentucky free throw line. Hatton now jumped Fleming, tapping it back, who knocked it in backcourt as he couldn't handle it to Adrian Smith. Smith over the line with a pass to Hatton. Down the left side to Johnny Cox, drives to the baseline on Norman, comes out, gives to Smith. Out deep to Hatton, moving slowly to the right now, staying deep with it. Over to Smith, looks at Cox. Norman's got a hand out in front of him. Smith moves to the left side, gets Rogers hung up on Cox. Norman picks him up. He gives to Cox to the left with Rogers on him now. Rogers knocked the ball down. Cox picks it up, gives to Smith out to Hatton. Hatton moves to the right, gets a screen from Beck. The jump shot's no good, but a foul is called on Temple. Bill Kennedy, we believe. That's right. Third foul on Kennedy of Temple. And 4 against the Owls this half. Hatton on the Kentucky line for 1 shot. Hatton has hit 2 out of 3. Hatton, a 2-hand shooter with 11 minutes, 58 seconds to go. Hits. Kentucky 42, Temple 40. Guy Rogers of Temple in front court to Kennedy. Takes a return on the right to Brodsky. Breaks out to the free throw line. Passes left side to Norman. Norman breaks out with a whistle. He walked with it. Kentucky takes over in back court. Odie Smith giving in to Vernon Hatton. Back over to Smith. Moving it in front court. Kentucky leads by 2. Now Smith walks with it. Back out of bounds to Temple. Kennedy hooking one into Guy Rogers. Up in the front court on the left side to Norman. Back to Rogers. He sets for 25 feet. In and out. Off to Beck. Fine rebound by the Kentucky center. Over to Vernon Hatton. Up in the front court, Hatt follows Beck to the pivot. Gives off to Smith. He moves to the left on Rogers. He knocked the ball away, but Cox was there to pick it up. Rogers has stolen 2 or 3 by knocking it away from the rear. Hatton to the baseline to Cox. 20 feet from the right. He missed it off the rim. Knocked down from Brodsky, but picked up by Rogers. They had Fleming wide open, but they didn't see him. Rogers down the middle to Kennedy. Wide open from the right. He hits it. That's Kennedy's third field goal. And the score is 42-42 with 11 minutes to go. Up in the front court, Vernon Hatton of Kentucky now. The Cats had 2 tries with a 2-point lead to fatten it up. Missed both times. Kentucky changing its offense now. Going into the double pivot. Cox and Beck in there. Beck gets it on the left side back to Smith. Smith gives to Hatton. Kennedy playing him loosely as he gives to Cox now. He takes the hook. No good. Temple had all the rebounding strength, and Fleming takes it off. Kentucky still does not have that offense down. They tried it in the first half and could not get set with it. Here's Rogers charging in to Adrian Smith as he shoots, and the foul again is blocking. That is 3 straight times that Guy Rogers has run over Adrian Smith, and 3 times it's been blocking. Consistent. Guy Rogers at the Temple free throw line, 1 for 2. That call brought Coach Adolph Rupp quickly off the Kentucky bench. 10 minutes, 14 seconds to go as Rogers tries to break the 42-all deadlock. Each team with 9 points the second half. The shot, good, and Temple leads, 43-42. Kentucky was in front, 42-40. Now 3 Temple points have gone through those nets. Here's Smith in front court, giving left side to Cox. Hatton in deep under the basket as it's out to Smith to Krigler. Back to Smith. Rogers cut it off. Smith got it back. Rogers up on his back, almost drew that third personal. Here it is over to Hatton. Down the left to Cox. Breaks to the right. Norman falls down. Cox takes a jump shot, no good. Gets it, brings it out. 3 men go for him, and Kennedy kicked it out of bounds from him. So Kentucky gets it on the left side of this offensive court, which is off to our left. Taking to the corner to back. Hatton passes out to Smith, moving to the right. Staying deep, gives back over to Hatton with Temple leading, 43-42. Here's Hatton from 25 feet, no good. Rebounding back, taps it over. Krigler saves, but right to Brodsky of Temple over to Rogers, and they fast break 3 on 2. Wide open, a foul is called now on Temple's Guy Rogers. Guy Rogers made a fake and got Dan Fleming wide open, but he ran over Beck and Smith in doing it. Kentucky wants a timeout. This is Kentucky's second timeout of the game. Temple has called only 1. Temple 43, Kentucky 42. 9 minutes, 23 seconds to play. And let us remind you that over these same Standard Oil stations tomorrow night, you'll hear the Kentucky game. Broadcast time, if Kentucky wins, will be 9:45 Eastern Time. If they lose, 7:45. Win or lose, you'll hear the Kentucky ball game tomorrow night over these same Standard Oil stations. Well, this game is everything that was expected from it. Tied up 33-all at the half. And now, after 10 minutes and 42 seconds of the second half, Temple has a 1.43-42 lead. Kentucky this half has only 2 field goals. Temple has just 3. But Temple has been able to hit better than the Cats from the field, been able to get more shots and hit more of them. Kentucky has been able to stay with the Owls from the free throw line. The warning horn sounds to go back to play. Clark County won the first game of the state tournament tonight. Clark County 67, High Street 65. Cardinals had a 2-point halftime lead. Clark County play tomorrow afternoon's semifinal game against the winner of tonight's Hazard-Davis County game. Monticello and St. X will play the first semifinal game tomorrow. Adrian Smith on the Kentucky free throw line as we go back to play. Hits to tie it up 43-all. Temple with possession now. Guy Rogers yelling 4 as he comes in front court to Kennedy. Down the right to Brodsky to Rogers. Deep to the right side. Falls away from Hatton and shoots good. Guy Rogers hits his first field goal of the second half. Temple leads 45-43. Smith in front court to Hatton. Back over to Smith. Deep to the right on the side to Beck. Beck off of the pivot. Whips to Hatton under the basket. Wide open to lay it in. Beautiful pass by Ed Beck to set Hatton up for his 4th field goal. 45-45 the score as we go into the last 9 minutes. Norman from the left side gives back to Rogers. Top of the circle, he turns his back on Smitty and makes a full pivot. Then gives to Norman, back to Kennedy. He breaks out to the free throw line, gives one to Rogers on the right side. A jump shot, good. Guy Rogers backing up field goals, 6 and 7. And Temple leads 47-45. Adrian Smith moves over the 10-second line for the Wildcats. Gives on the right side to Beck. Hatton goes through. Picked up by Norman. The pass is back to Smith to Hatton on the right side. He fakes Norman. Breaks under the basket. Tries to hook it back. Can't. Passes out to Krigler. Now out to Hatton to Smith. Down the right side. 3-second violation. Oh, wait a minute. A foul against Kentucky's Johnny Cox. That's the 3rd foul on Kentucky and Cox. Smith, Cox, and Krigler have each drawn 3 personals. Kennedy, Rogers, and Norman of Temple have 3. Van Patten, who was taken out in the first half and not appeared this half, has 4. Brodsky of Temple shoots 1 now. 8 minutes, 11 seconds to go. Temple leads 47-45. The shot, no good. Beck taps behind him to Adrian Smith. So Kentucky does not lose any distance on the scoreboard. 47-45, Temple leads. We got 8 minutes to play. Beck whips under the basket to Smith, who dropped the ball, picked it up in the right corner, and a jump shot, no good. Taken off by Temple. As it's fed out of there by Rogers to Kennedy, breaking in front court, 3-on-2. Rogers whips under the basket beautifully to Fleming, who lays it in wide open. Fleming's first field goal of the half sends Temple ahead 49-45. Smith in front court, whips to Beck on the right side. Hatton goes through, pass out to Cox. Cox moves to the right side, takes a hook over Norman, good. Johnny Cox, with his second field goal of the half, pulls Kentucky back within 2 points, 49-47. 7.5 minutes to go. Rogers of Temple in front court, left side to Norman. Breaks out on Beck, and it's knocked away from him, out of bounds. Kentucky bench complains about the call as Temple gets it. Norman dropped the ball off his knee. Rogers takes the ball, takes a jump shot from the right side, no good. Rebounding Ed Beck of Kentucky, knocked away by Brodsky. Kentucky gets the ball. Adrian Smith down on the floor is hurt. So an official's timeout. Smith has hurt his ankle. Odie Smith was lying crumpled here on the floor in front of our broadcast position. He's up walking around now, turning the ankle there in play, giving Temple a chance to have a timeout talk with Coach Harry Litwack. 7 minutes, 3 seconds to go. Temple 49, Kentucky 47. Smith running in a large circle around this right-hand side of the court now. Temple's front court to make sure it's okay for him to continue. Coach Adolph Rupp, along with the trainer, Rusty Payne, looking over the situation. Adrian Smith nodding his head as he moves into a conference with Coach Rupp that he's okay and ready to go. Coach watches him run around a while and decides, let's see. Coach Rupp asked the official for time enough to let Smith take off the shoe, relace it a little bit. So that operation is going on now. The official points to himself, indicating once again that it's his time. The second half, Kentucky has hit only 4 of 18 shots. Temple has 6 for 16. According to our shooting percentages here, the Wildcats, percentage-wise, have been way off in their shooting, and Adrian Smith remains in the lineup. He gives the ball to Hatton, takes a return as he moves back into front court. Has it knocked away by Rogers. Smith gets it back, gives to Cox. He's got Fleming on him this time. Back outside to Smith. Over to the right side to Hatton as Kentucky tries to tie it up now. They trail 49-47. Here's Hatton breaking. Got 2 men on him. Missed the shot. Back taps, no good. And Fleming gets it for Temple. The Owls are fast breaking. Here's Rogers at the free throw line. Backs away, drives from 10 feet and misses. Cox rebounds for Kentucky. And so the Wildcats will get another chance to tie up. 6.5 minutes to go as Hatton gets it in front court. Down the right to Cox. Back outside to Hatton. Hatton gives to Odie Smith. Coming up the right side deep. Over to Hatton. Takes a set shot. Gives to Beck. Smith goes through. Gets the pass. And he walks with it. So it's out of bounds to Temple. So Kentucky's had 2 chances to tie up this ball game and failed both times. Now, let's see. Will they get another one? Rogers in front court to Norman on the left side. Kennedy goes through, gets the pass, breaks in, missed the shot. Rebound by Brodsky, hooks out to Norman. Deep to Rogers. He's wide open from 20 feet. Good. 8 field goals for Guy Rogers, and Temple goes ahead 51-47. So Temple would not give the Cats 3 chances to try and do it. Now the Cats have got to fight from 4 points behind again. Rogers takes it away from Krigler, and Smith re-steals. Gets it back out to Hatton, who shakes his head, saying, watch those passes across the corner. Here's Cox driving on Norman, tried to fake the foul. As Cox hooks and misses, Krigler taps it in. Krigler racks up field goal number 3, and Kentucky moves back to within 2 points. 51-49, 5 minutes and 18 seconds to go. Guy Rogers to Kennedy in front court as we come now to the clutch minutes. It is over to Brodsky, brings it out, gives to Fleming deep. He breaks on back to the right side, passes to Norman to the left. He breaks out against Cox and hooks it in. Norman with his 7th field goal sends Temple back on top by 4, 53-49. Vernon Hatton in front court, right side to Krigler, out to Odie Smith. He takes a set and breaks to the right on Kennedy, gives to Cox in the right corner. The shot, good. Kentucky fighting desperately back. has pulled again within 2 points, 53-51. 4 minutes, 40 seconds to go. Rogers to Kennedy to Rogers to Brodsky. Back to Rogers, 25 feet from the right. He hits again. Guy Rogers has 4 field goals this half. Rotate off Rupp, yelling something to his 2 guards as Smith brings it back into front court with Temple leading 55-51. Hatton out deep, moving to the right, gives to Krigler. A 25-footer looks short, is short. Fleming rebounds. Cox takes it away and is fouled as he jumps to shoot. Across the arms foul on Brodsky of Temple. Cox saying something to Hatton as he waits at the free throw line. That's the second foul on Brodsky and the 5th against Temple this half. Johnny Cox of Kentucky goes to the line for 2 critical free throws. Clock stopped with 4 minutes, 19 seconds to go. Cox ready for his first one now, 2-hand shooter. Good. Narrows the Temple lead to 3, 55-52. Cox with a second shot. Here it is. Good. Cox has hit 10 out of 11 to pull the Cats to within 2, 55-53. Guy Rogers in front court against Odie Smith. Whips into Fleming. He breaks against Krigler at the baseline. Gives to Kennedy. Kennedy takes it out to the free throw line, then backs away from Hatton. Hands to Rogers, over to Norman. Back to Rogers, to the left side this time. Breaks, 20-foot pass on the side to Fleming. He's open, missed it. Beck knocks it down. Fleming picks it up, lays it in, falling away. Fleming, with his 3rd field goal, puts Temple back out by 4 at 57-53. Hatton to back on the pivot. He turns from 20 feet and misses everything. Rogers rebounds to Kennedy, who blows it in front court. And Temple slows it down as it goes over to Rogers with 3 minutes, 35 seconds to go. Here's Rogers breaking to the right side. Gives over to Brodsky. Breaks on Adrian Smith and walks with it, and Kentucky gets the ball. Odie Smith out of bounds. Passes into Vernon Hatton. 3 minutes, 20 seconds to go. It's Hatton in front court now. Moves, gives to Smith. Left side to Cox. Breaks down, and a jump shot. No good out. Came out of there to Smith. He from 15 feet. Got it. Odie Smith, second field goal of the ball game. Makes it 57-55. Temple leads by 2 points with 3 minutes to go. Rogers in front court. Down the right side to Brodsky. Back to Rogers. Off the right side, he shoots no good with Krigler fouling him. That is the 4th foul on John Krigler. Stops the clock with 2 minutes and 56 seconds to go. Guy Rogers goes to the Temple line. Checkers, 59-55. 4 points. Hatton in front court. Moves down the left side. Takes a 20-foot jump shot. No good. Krigler taps. No good. Krigler taps. No good. Guy Rogers has got it for Temple. Now Harry Litwack, the Temple coach, is off the bench, yelling, slow it down. 2 minutes, 37 seconds to go, and Temple with a 59-55 lead, and they've got the ball now. Temple not willing to freeze it with a 2-point lead. Now is going into the stall. Rogers calls number 4. Gives to Kennedy. Against Hatton, he's deep, moving to the left side. Gives to the pivot to Fleming. He fakes. Back out to Kennedy. Temple is really in a freeze. It would appear that they are trying to make the Cats think they're not. Here's Rogers breaking down, turning, and coming back outside. Temple trying to keep Kentucky from picking up too closely with an obvious stall. Brodsky out deep, double team, gives back to Rogers on the right. Out of the corner, he moves away from Hatton. We got 2 minutes to go. Temple 59, Kentucky 55, and timeout Temple. It's the second timeout for each team. So we've got our ball game now cut out. 1 minute, 56 seconds to go. Temple 59, Kentucky 55. The Cats had 2 tries, trailing 49-47, and twice failed to score a point. Then Temple was able to open it up to 4 points, and they've been able to keep it right there each trip they came down the floor. Abe Collingsworth becomes the first Kentucky substitute, 22-year-old senior from Salyersville. He's 6'3", weighs 190, has scored 22 points for a 1.6 average, is number 11 in scoring. In the NCAA, he has almost half his points, though, 10. Now, before we go back to play, let's take 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Standard Oil Sports Network.
WVLK, Lexington, Kentucky. In 1 minute, 10 o'clock.
The warning horn sounds to go back to play, so stand by for the final thrilling 1 minute, 56 seconds. Can Kentucky do it? Wildcats way off in their shooting here tonight. Collinsworth has replaced Krigler.
Kentucky has had one timeout. Temple has had 3.
Krigler, averaging 14 points a game, has scored only 19 in Kentucky's 2 NCAA tournaments. Rogers has got the ball in backcourt now. Picked up by Adrian Smith as he moves over the center stripe. Goes down the left side against Smith. Into Fleming. Temple not going for the basket. Outside to Kennedy. Over to Rogers, who's yelling 4 as he moves to the right, but stays deep with it. Whips into Fleming. Beck knocks it away and fouls. For Ed Beck, personal foul number 3. That's 5 against each team this half. Dan Fleming of Temple, who has hit 2 straight, goes to the line for 1. A minute and 38 seconds to play. Temple with a 4-point lead. Fleming trying to make it. One shot, no good. Taken off by Brodsky, though, so Kentucky does not get its chance. Here it is over to Rogers. Gives it to Hatton. Hatton breaks in. 2-2 with Smith. Goes all the way and missed the shot. Norman rebounds. Collinsworth knocks it away and will jump. 1 minute, 24 seconds showing on the clock. Temple 59, Kentucky 55. Rogers just absolutely handed the ball in to Hatton. Collinsworth 6'3", Norman 6'3" at the Kentucky free throw line. Here's the toss, the tap by Norman to Kennedy. He breaks quickly into front court, 2-2 with Rogers, drives all the way and charged into Adrian Smith. That is the first charging foul called. It's on Kennedy of Temple, his 4th one. So now Harry Litwack, the Temple coach, up off the bench, pacing up and down in front. 1 minute, 19 seconds to go. Temple with a 4-point lead. As the Temple Owls call for charging, sending Adrian Smith to the Kentucky free throw line. The bonus rule applies, so Odie Smith can cut the Temple lead in half. The shot, good. Now the critical bonus shot by Smith. 1:19 to go. Temple by 3. Smith sights. The shot, good. Temple leads now 59-57. Rogers in backcourt. Moves up over the center stripe, where he's picked up by Adrian Smith. Kennedy comes by. Hatton picks up on Rogers. He wheels one over to Norman. Norman back to Rogers. Rogers breaks down the left side, passes deep to Fleming, who has come outside. Back to Rogers with 1 minute to go. He breaks down the middle, gives a bad pass that Fleming picks up. Triple teamed and fouls now. Dan Fleming starts swinging at both Collinsworth and Hatton. The officials break it up quickly. Fleming sticks out his hand as though he wants to shake hands. Collinsworth refuses. Guy Rogers walks over and shakes hands. Collinsworth shakes hands with Rogers, but will not shake hands with Fleming. Hatton drawing the personal, his 3rd. Fleming on the free throw line has hit 2 out of 4. Hits. Now he gets the bonus shot. There are 55 seconds to go. Temple now leads 60-57. Fleming's bonus try, no good. Beck taps it out to Hatton. Kentucky has got a chance. Hatton in front court. Down the right side to Collinsworth and back to Hatton. Outside to Cox. He moves to the left to Smith. Smith breaks out, gives to Hatton. And a foul called on Temple. Guy Rogers, his 4th one. Temple has Kennedy and Rogers with 4 and Van Patten on the bench with 4. As Odie Smith goes back to the Kentucky free throw line. A chance to move the Cats within 1 point. Can he do it? Shot good. That makes the score 60-58. 43 seconds to go. Here's Odie Smith's bonus shot. Good. And so we may get a winner with an odd score of 60-59. Everybody's in backcourt as the ball is into Rogers. Smith goes for him. He gets it to Brodsky in front court. Brodsky with Collinsworth trailing him over to Kennedy. 35 seconds to go. Smith knocks it in backcourt for Kentucky. He picks it up, breaking for the basket, but he's out of bounds. Clock stops with 29 seconds to go. The ball went out of bounds on Odie Smith as he knocked it in backcourt. 29 seconds, pass to Rogers. He's fouled by Collinsworth now. 27 seconds to go as Collinsworth draws foul number 1. 27 seconds to play. We're going to the wire, as was expected. 60-59. Temple leads, and it's Guy Rogers. who has hit 3 in a row on the free throw line for a free throw. Bonus rule applies. Here it is. Rogers started to shoot and then stopped. Now he's ready to go again. Here it is. No good. Beck gets it back to Odie Smith. Kentucky got the ball. Timeout, Kentucky. There are now 23 seconds to go. Guy Rogers with a bonus rule free throw. Missed. Ed Beck tapped behind him to Adrian Smith. And then Beck immediately called timeout to stop the clock with 23 seconds to go. Kentucky had possession in backcourt when they called the timeout. So that means that they'll get possession at midcourt. So Kentucky trails by 60 to 59 on 4 straight free throws by Adrian Smith that has held them right up against the front-running Owls. We were tied up 33 all at the half. Could it possibly end tied at the ball game again? Well, we have only 23 seconds to wait. This timeout is the 3rd for Kentucky and only the 5th of the ball game. Temple standing ready defensively to see what the Cats will try. Well, Kentucky certainly would be due to win a one-point game. They've lost 3 one-point games. SMU, Loyola, Auburn. Odie Smith out of bounds. Hatton in backcourt gets the pass, and here we go. 22 seconds as the clock moves. Hatton breaks to the right, goes for the basket, hooks it back and in. Vernon Hatton gets the field goal, his 5th of the game. Temple has got timeout with 12 seconds to go. Vernon Hatton took the ball, went down the right side to the baseline, broke for the basket, went under, hooked it back and in. And it's all in favor of Kentucky at the moment. 12 seconds to go. It is 61 to 60. Kentucky leading Temple on Vernon Hatton's 5th field goal of the ball game. Now, this timeout by Temple is the 3rd one for each team, and the Owls are faced with about the same situation. 12 seconds to go. They can get away a shot. Well, Rogers has been awfully tough on this outside shooting. Could it be Guy Rogers that Temple will decide to take the shot on? That time, Coach Adolph Rupp's strategy was to clear the entire right side of the floor to let Hatton have plenty of room to operate. And Hatton took it right down the right side. 61-60, Kentucky leads Temple. 12 seconds to go. Temple's ball and stand by. Bill Kennedy's out of bounds. Rogers stands right on the 10-second line, dances into backcourt. He gives off to Kennedy. Over to Brodsky. Back to Kennedy. He dropped the ball out of bounds. 6 seconds to go. Kentucky has the ball. The pass into Hatton. 3, 4, 1. Ball game's over. Ball game over. The Wildcats have won it. Hey, boy, they did it. Listen to this. Yessen's going to try to get him for us. Let's see if he'll say a few words. Coach Rupp, what about the end of the ball game?
Well, we're just 1 point ahead, so we're going to the dressing room. The master kind of took care of us tonight again.
Coach Rupp, how about your strategy there for the last shot?
Well, we called it exactly. I'll give Harry Lancaster credit for calling that. He called the play.
Thank you, Coach Rupp. Man, you talk about a guy excited. He is. He said he gives Harry Lancaster credit for winning the ball game. It was Lancaster's idea to clear the right side of the floor, to let Hatton try individually to win this ball game. 61-59 in favor of Temple when Hatton got the field goal, and for the first time this season, Kentucky has won a one-point game. They had been beaten early in December by SMU by 1 point. They lost in February to Loyola by 1 point, again in February to Auburn by 1 point. Tonight they're in the championship game now against the winner of Kansas State-Seattle on a 1-point victory, 61-60.